think we're just about ready. Alright, can you guys see everything okay? Alright, it looks like it. Alright, spoiler free. Yeah, I mean, there was tidbits of information given. Nothing plot-wise, nothing really mechanically. We definitely looked at the manual, but nothing that was really like, use this combo to get this attack. This is how magic works. It's basically SaGa rules that we knew from the first game. So music. I liked a lot of the music in this game. It's pretty solid, pretty good. There's a lot of tracks that I'd add. I feel like they did something that I tend to like in games, but they did it a little bit too much. They took a rendition of a song, and they played it again and again and again in different ways. But it was basically almost all the boss themes. So it made, like, the final fights and stuff like that slightly less epic. But the renditions of the song were still, or the songs were really, really good regardless. I'm curious to see what I put for the first SaGa, honestly, considering how long ago I rated that. Yeah, you know, I mean, this OST I would say is really on par with that. I'd argue that I maybe like a bit more of the music in this one than I did in the first one, but I also feel like there's a lot more of it, so I'll go ahead and give the OST a 9. Graphics were definitely my favorite part of this game. I love the watercolor aesthetic of the environments and stuff like that, and being able to climb up on things where it almost looked like it was something you couldn't climb up on or climb down and things like that. The character sprites looked okay. Some of them looked pretty cool. Yeah, Frontier's music's pretty diverse as well. You can't see the scores? Oh, I didn't scroll down enough for you guys. Sorry. I forget that you only see half of what I see on my screen. Let me turn this up a little bit more. Alright. So yeah, graphics were definitely really good, especially for a PlayStation game that was trying to push, like, full 3D and stuff like that. The character sprites in their 3D formats, they looked okay. They weren't really necessary. They didn't do a whole lot for me when you're doing the dual battles and stuff like that. But I'd say it looked really solid. It looked really good, and like I said, that watercolor aesthetic really did a lot for me. I really enjoyed it. There was never a point in the game where I did not like that, and I'd actually like to see more games that kind of take that type of approach and uniqueness. I could have just seen a little bit more with some other stuff. If you compare it to games like Breath of Fire 3 and Breath of Fire 4, just because those are games that didn't focus too much on 3D and stuff like that at the time, and kind of did that 2D, 3D type sprites and so on and so forth, I feel like the game could have went a long way focusing on that a little bit more. More so than what it did. But again, those environments are top-notch. So I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8. So, yeah, this is where it starts to go downhill a little bit, I feel. The story in this game is very, very simple, from what I gather from it. Gustav wants to basically show that hard work can get you somewhere, and in doing that he provides a kingdom and things like that, and gets back with his family and shows that it's not about the ability to use magic and stuff like that that can make you strong or make you or give you the ability to do things and accomplish things. And Will's story was basically to be a digger at first and then to stop this egg, and that was basically his whole plot. And the rest of it, it's all disjointed around those things. You're meeting new characters here and there, one day to the next. You're going 5 years in the future, 15 years back in the future, jumping from character to character, party to party. Characters die, characters you think are dead, then you go back and you're playing as that character, but actually you went back in time and are playing as that character. It was all over the place. Anybody that's playing this game without following some type of guide to see, like, back in the future, yeah, ignore me. Okay. Anyone that's going to play this game without a guide of any kind is really going to have a hard time picking up the plot. But even as you go through all the scenarios, even if you're not, like, checking it off, going in order the most accurate way you can, it's still incredibly disjointed. honestly, you swap characters way too often. You swap areas way too often. You even in the times where you go back to places that you've been before, there's no real changes to it. And you don't even look at some of the same areas with the same party members. There's, I think, maybe 1 or 2 areas that you go with both parties. And that's, to me, something that they could have really, really went on a lot. I understand that the characters were, like, maybe on different parts of the world earlier in the game, but very quickly in the game, you're riding boats and taking other places or going other places around the world and traveling to those places. So it would have been cool if the characters met up a little bit more too, other than, like, I think the one time one of the party members meets up with the other characters. I don't know, there's just... What's the played games command? Exclamation point beaten will bring up the list of beaten games. So it's a super hard story to follow. It's not very interesting. It's hard to really feel for characters when they're dying left and right and you're having new players shoved down your throat constantly. You really don't build any attachment to anybody. The characters that I finished the game with, I spent probably the least amount of time with, other than the grinding. Like, I only grinded with them. Other than that, I didn't do anything. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the mechanics of the game. We'll get to that later. This has to be one of the more disappointing stories to me out of all the games that I've played. I understand what it was trying to do. I will say that mechanically with the scenarios and going through different years and like seeing your children and stuff like that as well, it was definitely an interesting approach, but I feel like it was executed so poorly that it was just completely lost on me as a person. And again, maybe following a guide of some kind might have made a little bit of a difference and I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But I gotta say, it's very, very difficult to get into. I'm gonna give it a 5, and that's kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt, honestly. Alright, mechanics. This is always hard with SaGa games because nothing's explained to you whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. But some stuff becomes slightly intuitive. You start to understand what things are more so RNG, what stuff you can kind of influence a little bit in your favor, and normally you have some set of limitations to your characters as to what weapons they can use, what spells they can use, and so on. That's what every SaGa game I've played up to now has done. And because of those limiting factors, you get to choose what characters you want to play, what type of style you want to do, and what to focus on throughout the game. And because you do that, you end up having things by the time you get to the end of the game on those characters because you focused on things. This game's completely different. Every character can use every weapon, every spell, and I get the dynamic of making it that your character is a jack of all trades and can do everything, but your characters had things that they were better at. And you would assume that it's just the ones with the pluses on it, right? Well, in some cases, I was learning abilities on characters that had no skill points or anything like that in a weapon other than one, so there had to be something going on there. I could never figure out how to learn spells even though I spammed God knows how many different combos constantly on higher level enemies. I used the life water ability for like the entire game and never learned another spell on any of my characters. Even using incinerate and things like that, never learned anything. I spent 90% of the game not proccing any abilities, and if I did, it tended to be a lower tier ability than the one I already had. This game was just a mess all over the place. I just feel like they tried to do way too much and throw so much more in, whereas the RNG and figuring things out and being a little bit intuitive and stuff like that from the first game, it just wasn't in this one at all. It was just a constant struggle. I never understood anything that was going on. I leave the game only thinking if I ever come back and play this again, I can have a few combos written down that I can try early to attempt to get on my characters and know to at least try to get them late, and I know what characters I can get them on. That is a crap ton of information that makes your playthrough 900 million times better and easier and things like that, but you don't know that going in blind. You don't. And I'm always against a game kind of requiring you to use a guide to really enjoy it. Even if you were to poke around in this game for hours on end trying a whole bunch of different things, you could go 10 hours or more without learning any abilities, and we proved that. You can literally sit there and gain nothing and learn nothing from the game, and that's a problem. I think that that's a major, major problem. I'm going to go ahead and give, again, I'll give the mechanics a 5. I like the approach to SaGa. I like the ability to proc things and so on and so forth, but... And this, let's talk about the scenarios a little bit, even though we touched on that with story. I think that's a mechanic thing, too. The ability to swap between different parties and characters and stuff and kind of have a choice of where you were going or who you wanted to play as. It's nice when you think about it, but it just was executed really poorly. Definitely a mechanic I wish they would have focused on a little bit more and thought of. The major factor being switching party members constantly is a real struggle in a game like this. Again, I feel SaGa Frontier did it better. You play as a character, you go through their story, you have them the entire time. You can pick up other characters along the way, but they have everything. And then you go on to another character, and it's like restarting in that way. But at least you're getting a new story, a new scenario. You can go find characters that you were with before in, you know, past playthroughs and things like that. And you know what they're good at. You know what they can learn. You know where they are. You know what they start with. You know their backstory. And it carries so much more weight in a game that had not a whole lot of story going for it. This game tried a bit too hard to make something happen with story and, like, mechanically build around that, and it just didn't do a very good job. Again, in my opinion. And grinding. Okay, this is a hard one. I feel like if you're following a guide, you're going to have to spend some time on some higher level enemies early in duels, learn some decently strong attacks as quick as you can at every opportunity you get, and you can struggle through the game. You'll probably have to grind for some HP and stuff like that at some point, but if you know how to figure out spells, I'm sure there's some type of AoE healing spell. And as long as you have 1 or 2 strong attacks, I'd say if you could do about 5k damage per turn by the end of the game, you're set to be able to beat it, as long as you can survive. So I was doing maybe 2 to 3k for the longest time, and my characters were dying in about 1 hit or so. So we spent hours upon hours upon hours of grinding, and I did fight a lot of battles throughout the game. Mostly because a lot of them I was forced to do, but I did skip some as well. You have to duel a lot in a lot of the character scenarios. You're forced to. You have to fight bosses and stuff like that. And many of those fights I just gained no abilities, no stats, no magic, not anything. So I feel like someone going through this game and it being a completely blind playthrough is going to have to grind ridiculous amounts. Maybe even more so than me. I might have gotten lucky. That spear attack being on thrust, however many I just said, that was my first thing to go to because it was the first command on the top. If I didn't learn that, maybe I wouldn't have had a proc that could have done around 11k damage. And I found multi-way a while back just from spamming the 3 and then going back up to slash and messing around with things. I got lucky. And you would think that, okay, well, you tested things and you tried things and stuff like that. No, that was 30 hours of poking around in the game, 40 plus hours for the other one, to gain an ability that did half decent damage or enough damage to really carry me through. That's a lot of time with nothing else going on. So I'm not going to say that this is bad as Shining in the Darkness and Dragon Quest, which were pure grinding. There was definitely some areas where you're not really grinding too much and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 in that regard. Alright, so I'm kind of around like a 5 going on a 6 with this game. I really feel like the music and the aesthetic and stuff like that really carry it for me. And I do like the approach of SaGa games. I know that it's very RNG heavy and things like that, but I like some element of that. I missed the fact that characters kind of had their own dynamic, their own weapons that they were good with, their own like traits that they were visibly good with because they started the game with 2 attacks, like martial arts attacks or something like that, or 2 really strong sword attacks, and you're like, okay, they're probably good with those things. This game did a tiny bit of that, but never really anything to really lean you one way or the other, and I think that caused me to struggle even more. I'd say overall the game is a little above average. I'd have a really hard time recommending this to anybody, and if I did, I would absolutely tell them, please use a guide. And I would warn them preemptively that there's the opportunity to get caught at the end of the game and not be able to leave. because the game does not do a good enough job at that. That kind of goes against my thing with spoiling it for people, but I feel like that's the type of thing that you're almost you're almost kind of a jerk if you don't say something given the opportunity to say something like that. Now that doesn't go for me because I want to go through stuff completely blind and stuff like that, but still, that's something I would preempt people with and let them know when they were getting near the game. Maybe know like story stuff and things like that. It'd be hard to think of a way to really tell them about it, honestly, without really giving too many spoilers away. So I'm gonna go ahead and settle on a 6. I think it's giving it credit where credit is due. It's a very pretty game. It sounds really nice. The mechanics work, even though they make a lot of nonsensical things happening and things like that. It's a game that, if you give a shot and play a little bit at a time, you can probably have a lot of fun with it. If you follow a guide, you can probably have an even more fun with it. Definitely not something I plan on replaying. Alright, let me do some math, guys. Let me see what you guys voted for. Let's see if we were on the same page. Alright, how many we got? 14. Alright, looks like you guys also gave it a 6. Nope. I will probably look up some mechanics and stuff like that. I'm super curious to learn how you learn magic in the game. I really would like to see how that works. If it's something that's really simple that I messed up on or just like didn't manage to do, I'm gonna be a little sad. But alright, and it took us 47 hours, 51 minutes, and 30 seconds. We did it. We did the thing. We beat the game. I just tried to look for the save button like I was saving an Excel sheet, but I don't have to do that. Alright, guys. You know what time it is. You're probably sick of me talking as it is, so let's get right on to it. If you are new to the stream, it is raffle time. All you have to do is enter the word raffle, and it enters you in a chance to win and pick the next game that I play. It's as simple as that. Type in the word raffle and you are entered, and you get the chance to pick. In the meantime, while we wait for people to jump on in, you can go ahead and take a look at the list and figure out what you might want to play next. If you write raffle, you win. No, you have a chance to win. But in your case, Altanin, you've won quite a few times, so. Oh, one thing I will add is if Nightbot wins, I will create a list of 5 games, and all of you will get to vote together as a community to pick the game that I play. I will make the list of 5 games myself, but you guys get to pick. And I tend to link that in the Discord and I try to come up with it before the stream stops at least, but I don't really have 5 on my mind right now because Nightbot's not going to win very often. But I should make sure I kind of have that ready to go at any point. So many alts. But yeah, it's as simple as that. As I've said before, I know we have a lot of people that lurk in chat, and that's fine. I don't like to call people out, but if you do want to take the opportunity to pick the next game, I highly recommend just typing in the word raffle. If the only 2 things you say are the raffle and then the game that you want me to play, if you win, give it a shot. DDS2? What is DDS2? You guys have your picks ready, huh? Oh, Digital Devil Saga. That's right. I played the first one. Oh yeah, that's right. You picked the first one, Error. Now you want me to play the second one. Actually, let's get this ready. Alright, guys. I think I've made you wait long enough. Good luck, everyone! 3, 2, 1, go! Fidel Infidel! Congrats, man! Travis, you won! I played Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I have not played FF Tactics for the tour yet. I've played the game before, though. Psycho Rider, welcome back to the party, man. Did you even enter? Are you in here? Yeah, okay, you were in here. Rigged! Welcome back to the party, dude. Thank you for that continued support. I really appreciate it. You'd have to listen to my review to listen as to the things that I didn't like, and I gave it a 7. I gave it a 6 for grinding rating. That game killed the heck out of my wrist, didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I was swiping all over the screen constantly. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity. Alright. And I didn't dislike the game. For those of you that are questioning my reviews and stuff like that, trust me when I say I do not feel in any way, shape, or form that my review of the game is a definitive one and one that you should potentially take with a grain of salt. More than anything else, it's how I feel I would recommend a game to somebody. With The World Ends With You, I would recommend it to people, but I'd be very specific about how gimmicky it is on the DS and things like that and what you actually have to do. But by no means do I think that that's a bad game. And I like the music. Wait. Hold on. What am I holding on for? Go ahead and take your time and make sure. And by the way, the whole so damn Zeta slow, I know you must really like the game if you're commenting with that, or that's your name. Have you played the Switch version of the game? A lot of people have been telling me that that was a bad version of it, and a lot of people are saying that the phone version was actually pretty good. If you're still here, if you weren't leaving because of what I rated the game. Looking for the worst of the Mystery Dungeon games. Okay, so this is definitely the game you want? 100% confirmed? Alright. Alright. It's absolutely my first time played. Okay, guys, there's one more thing we do. We finished the game tonight, so... Wait, it's called Gates to Infinity? Oh, oops. I stopped typing because you were like, wait. One more thing we do is we finish the game tonight, so we're gonna raid somebody. We're gonna show somebody some love. But we have to think of something from this game that we can spam. And I highly recommend that it's egg related. So anybody that can think of something clever to say that incorporates eggs, we could do omelet. That's definitely an egg thing. And you can spam any emotes and stuff like that that you like. Is that an egg emote? Time traveling egg? Beat the egg? I think just spamming the emote egg is pretty clever. Let's just go with that, and you can do any other emotes you want with it, guys. First of all, let me figure out who I'm going to raid. Let's see. Alright, we're gonna raid Hope here. He is doing some Persona 2. 3? He's doing Persona 3, and since you love Persona 3, Jago, we're gonna go ahead and go over there. I'm not gonna be able to stick around and watch, but you guys should. Hope's a really awesome dude, really laid-back streamer. If you like RPGs, if that's why you're here, he does lots of RPGs as well. You'll definitely fit right in. His chat's really laid back. It's a lot of fun. So go ahead and raid the crap out of Hope with eggs. I want to see his chat completely taken over by you guys. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to raid somebody. Alright. Thanks again, guys. See you tomorrow.